Now that we know the engine is running, and with minor tweaks to the carburetor still needed, but I'll leave that for later, it is time to pull the bike to pieces completely and go through each part bit by bit. There's a lot of work to do, but as I've said before, this is going to be a budget build. So today's job is going to be to basically dismantle all this. I am not going to film any of the basic stuff coming off, like the fenders and wheels and stuff. What I might pay attention to though is things like the dismantling of the forks, as that is a bit more of a job and an area I'm not quite sure what to expect. About an hour and a half's work, gets the engine out, the loosely attached wiring loom off, the rear wheels out, and now we're just sort of dismantling the rear end. So I'm going to pull the swing arm off with the shock absorbers. Hopefully the centre stand and the jack will hold it upright. For future reference, it seems to be nut, small washer, and then there's a large washer behind the shock absorber, and that goes to the bottoms as well. We're ready to take the handlebars off, but I just thought I'd make a quick note of the way the cables are running at the moment before I take them out. We seem to have stuff coming down from the left hand bar crossing this way, and the one coming down from the right hand bar underneath it. The cables also, the brake cable coming from the right handlebar crosses over and seems to be heading off down the left hand side, and the clutch is coming down and heading off down the right. So now we're getting into the good stuff. It's time to remove the forks. I'm not entirely sure how this works, so you'll have to bear with me for a while. I'm going to start by undoing the top bolt because I think that holds everything together. I've noticed that this top yoke nut is loose, so it may be that someone's already been in before us, but it certainly doesn't feel like or look like anyone's done any decent work on it. So let's see how tight the top nuts are. They feel quite tight. It's amazing how much corrosion there is on the nuts and bolts and fixtures and fittings on this bike. I'm told that it belonged to a Royal Navy captain in the 70s, and he kept it aboard his ship and used it whenever he was in port, which might explain why it's only got a few thousand miles on the clock. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I've only got the story of the grandson of the guy who owned it originally. Ah, that's interesting. Okay, so what is interesting here is that this bolt has an oil seal at the top of it, and then underneath that there is the bolt, the thread itself. I have a clamp bolt here, 14. I suspect that these haven't been off because the previous owner has painted over the tops of the bolts, which suggests that it was painted in situ. Okay, that feels a little looser. Okay, I think we are loose because we've got some play at the top here now, so I think it might be just a case of working this out. Oh, that sounds promising. Rusty spring. What are we missing? Is it just a... Is it just brute force? Is that what I'm missing? Yeah. Ooh, that's a rusty looking spring. Great. Okay, so that's the shock absorber. There's this cap that just fits over the yoke, You can see the original colour underneath, so that suggests that these haven't been off for a long time. We've got this top cover that fell off that has what looks like a plastic bushing in it. Excellent. I can't put down the shock absorber because I think it's probably full of oil. And there's this seal here which I believe goes that way, and that seals against the top of the shock absorber, I believe. I'll have to check the parts diagram. So the oil inside the shock absorber looks quite clean. There's a cover over the shock absorber, and it just slides up to reveal the seal inside. Now we'll have a better look in the workshop at some point, but it is absolutely full of rusty flakes from the spring, so I think it was definitely worth taking the time to do these. Plus it gives us a chance to polish up the aluminium, which is in a real state. Okay, note to self, on the left hand side, on the left hand fork bolt, there is a cable bracket. Time to find out what the bearings are like. Hopefully better condition than the nut itself. I'll put a tray underneath it just in case all the balls decide to do a runner. Hopefully stand a chance of catching them. Okay. Another good reason to come in, have a look, other than the fact it needed doing, was the fact that this is finger tight. Never a good sign. Ooh, we've struck balls. Okay, first things first, I think. Get my magnet ready. See if we can keep them all in there. So it'd be good just to check that they're all there. Maybe worth getting a new race for it, but again, on a budget, if they're in good condition, I'm not going to bother. They're all over the place. They are all over the place. I'm just going to hold it. Let's get this top nut off. Okay, we've got the top brace by the looks of it. Just got 4 balls stuck to it. Oh, what a mess. It's hard to tell how many balls there should be. The grease that was in there has pretty much departed. I'm trying not to drop this. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how to dismantle a ball bearing. Yeah, should have accounted for the fact that the only thing holding it upright, or down I should say, was the weight of the yoke itself. Luckily the fossilised grease seems to have held everything together. The bottom balls seem to be in good condition. There all seems to be more of them, so I suspect you may be missing some from the top. I'll have to find out how many balls there are on these races. It's a shame because it's one of those things I was hoping not to have to redo. Okay, and the order on the bowl race on the bottom is the race itself with the larger curve facing upwards, then it's the rubber seal, then it's the metal washer, very much like the XL. So there we go, a couple of leisurely hours in the garage has reduced the bike to nothing more but a few component parts. Most of the bits have ended up in boxes. There's a bit up there, but that's pretty much it. You can literally compact one of these into just a handful of boxes. So yeah, a lot of work ahead now. The wheels need going over. They may need new rims, spokes, but we'll see what we can do to clean them up. The frame needs completely paint stripping and then repainting. I have an idea for a colour scheme I'd like to try on this bike. I'm not going to be precious about originality. The engine is done, apart from the carburettor. The shock absorbers, they may well be my next project. The shocks which are hiding back there. I'm going to order some seals for those. In fact, I'm going to order a whole bunch of parts really, now that I've got an idea of what's needed. Yeah, so lots of stripping, lots of painting, lots of refurb, and then hopefully we can start putting it back together again.